Retail workers, what is that incident/event that is known about your store? A lady was searching for a 4-foot chain and a co-worker had to cut the chain for her. The co-worker cuts the chain to 4 feet and hands it to the lady. The lady steps back, swings the chain like a whip and slaps the ground. That sent a loud crack throughout the store. The lady said, "This'll do." She purchased it and walked out. This is my husband's story. He works at a pet store. There is a lovable parrot there that the staff all interacts with, and he is super sweet. It was a very busy evening, so all of his co-workers were dealing with things, and he was at the till, so he did not notice anything right away either. The parrot is gone. Someone shoved a $3,500 African grey parrot into their coat. Later, when they reviewed the videotape, they saw this and walked out the front door. Everyone was freaking out a little as we were having a cold snap and they were worried about the poor thing's well-being. About an hour goes by and the asshat's girlfriend came in and brought the parrot back saying that she felt guilty and that he was having a rough go lately. I have no idea if any charges were still pressed and what have you, but what the hell, people? Don't steal live animals. Our grocery store was about to close, so one of our cashiers bought the last whole cooked chicken we had. We kept it in the warmer oven so that it would stay warm and put a big sticker that said "sold" on it so that no one would mistakenly grab it. Last customer of the day decided to ignore the sticker and took it anyways. Our cashier tried to explain to her that it had already been purchased and was in the warmer to keep it warm. The customer was not happy about this, so she threw the entire chicken at the cashier's head and stormed out. This is a story that we tell all our new cashiers when they ask about crazy customer stories. My executive team leader at Target, let's call him Lewis. He was the LOD leader on duty at the time, and he meant to call the LOD at another store to warn him about 2 thieves that were more than likely headed to his store. But he called his own store instead. Hilarity ensues over the walkies. Lewis to operator. I need to speak with the LOD. Operator to Lewis. Lewis, you have a call on line 225. Lewis to operator. Okay, have them hold. The phone rings back after a few minutes. Lewis to operator. Yes, I've been holding for several minutes. It is very urgent that I speak to your LOD. Operator to Lewis. Lewis, that call for LOD is back on 225. They said it's urgent and they really need to speak with you. Lewis to operator. Well, I'm on the phone holding for an LOD. Silence for a few minutes while Lewis is holding for himself, and then the phone rings back a third time. Lewis to operator. Yes, I've been holding for over 10 minutes and I have a call holding for me. Could you please find me the LOD or another ETL I could speak to? Operator to Lewis. Lewis, that call for the LOD is back on 225. They are getting pretty agitated. Could you please take the call? Lewis to operator and the rest of store. Will someone take the call for the LOD on 225? Another manager, Molly, finally picks up line 225. Target, can I help you find some? Lewis to Molly. Finally. Look, there are 2. Molly to Lewis. Lewis? Lewis hangs up and goes on lunch. Barnes & Noble. The volleyball incident. So we have a typical 7-foot high shelf with a bunch of 8 inches by 10 inches loose leaf college ruled notebooks for back to school. They are bendy, very lightweight, and sometimes they fall off as their front covers bend from standing upright too long. So one fell on the head of an older teenager. It barely glanced off her head and it hit the floor. No employee actually saw it happen. She came up and said it had. She seemed fine. We asked if she was injured. She said no. She left, and that was that. An entire year later, an army of our lawyers troops in and measures a shelf, a typical loose leaf notebook, and deposes the entire store. The girl sued us for a head injury that has apparently affected her Olympic volleyball career, costing her her ability to go to the Olympics. A couple months later, I was aghast to learn we had settled for an undisclosed amount. Unfortunately, it was about me. I was 18 and this girl, 14 to 15, would come by the bookstore every day for a good 6 months and follow me around, accidentally run into me, literally, as I was walking through aisles. It started off innocently enough, but eventually she started asking people if I liked to party, where I lived, following me, We'd asked her to leave several times because she was bothering other employees also. One day she vanished, and we later found out that she'd gotten put in a mental health ward for a good 6 months or so. Worked at a small store in a not so great area. Products were stored in the dirt floor basement and you'd have to go down with a flashlight and really bend because the ceiling was only 5 feet tall. Creepy enough. But one day a female co-worker comes running up and is screaming about a rat she saw. There was major construction going on around us, so we expected some extra vermin. But she said it was pretty big. So they go get Julio, the part-time, little to no English skills, pretty fresh off the boat. The situation is explained, and he grabs a baseball bat and garbage bag. He descends to the basement and we all go back to work. Minutes later we hear a few loud bangs followed by foreign cursing. Everyone freezes as we hear footsteps coming up the basement stairs. Julio has a smile on his face and a bag in his hand containing a rat the size of a Maine Coon cat. Needless to say we never forgot about Julio and the giant rat. Worked at a bookstore. Had a very large person come in, look around for a while, and then decided they needed to poop. This man was so large, he was able to fit through the double doors at the entrance, but couldn't fit through the door to the restroom. He proceeded to drop trow in the middle of the history section, because he said he couldn't hold it anymore. Management was notified that there was a halfway naked man in the back of the store, and came running. Found out what was going on, went into a panic, because someone was literally about to shit on our carpet. Manager on duty grabbed a hefty trash bag and managed to get it under the guy before he let loose. Worked for a thrift store for a few years. One incident in particular still sticks in my head. Obviously, as it was a thrift store, theft happens. The entire staff is trained to not directly accuse anyone of theft or really do anything about it, but rather to follow the accused around the store to make them so uncomfortable they leave. On this particular night, I was being trained in closing the store. I was the manager in the back end, but it was required that we all learn how to run the whole store and had a relatively easy night. About an hour to close, a rather sketchy looking couple with a young baby comes in. Nothing really seems amiss at all until after they leave, and one of my TMs mentions to me that they left behind a purse in the fitting room. I take the purse into the office to hold it until they come back, then notice while the thing is wide open, that is stuffed to the brim with merchandise they had intended on stealing. Still, not a huge deal as they have left. Flash forward about a half hour to when we have locked the doors and are counting tills to end the night. Big sketchy boyfriend is banging on the doors demanding we let him in. We inform him nicely that the store is closed and he can come back in the morning for her purse, minus the stolen items. He then spends a half an hour trying to break down the door, shatter windows and yelling that he is going to assault and gut every female staff member in the store. We end up having to call the police, who arrive in time to watch him stumble out of the bar across the parking lot, get in his car and tear away. This story is now used in my old store as an example of why they aren't supposed to engage shoplifters, and was the most terrifying experience I ever had working in retail. I worked at a big box electronics retailer as a teenager. One day Steve Harvey comes in. This is after his WB show, but before his latest foray into daytime TV. Well, apparently Steve needs to take a shit, so he sends his giant bodyguard into the bathroom, who proceeds to go up to everyone in there and demand that it's time for you to go. The bodyguard intimidates people into leaving so that old chiclet teeth can enjoy his bowel movement in the privacy of a bathroom meant to accommodate like 10 people at a time, all while the bodyguard posts up outside the door, refusing to let anyone in. You ain't shit, Steve. Some lady found a worm in her raw salmon after taking it home. She made a huge storm about it, recorded a video that went viral, and took it to the local news. All the comments on the story were trying to tell her that eggs in raw salmon are common, and it's not really possible for the store to sort them all out, which is why you cook it. The bright side is that wild caught salmon went on sale for $2 a pound after that, and I snatched up as much as my freezer could fit. I ate salmon every weekend for about 2 months. I don't work for a store, but I do work in a mall. One time a store employee was caught banging a mannequin in a back hallway. It's worth noting That every inch of this place is on HD security cameras at all times. He'd barricaded the doors, so he was able to finish up and redress both the mannequin, a headless one to boot, and himself before security was able to get to him. Also, people seem to like to shit in elevators. No idea why. A homeless person decided to use our bathroom, proceeded to leave the door open, and somehow have an explosive shit all over the bathroom and outside hallway and wall. We don't know how it happened. He blocked the camera. A lot of people vomited. Guess who cleaned that up? Gross. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.